Society thrives on order. Indiscriminate building constructions, unorganized markets, haphazard development, and unauthorized motor parks create chaos, fuel crime, and disrupt the progress of our community. Such disorder can drag society back to the Hobbesian state of nature, where life was solitary, poor, nasty, brutish, and short. Thomas Hobbes emphasized the need for the authority and leadership through a social contract to establish order and prevent a society where only the strongest survive, a state best described as the survival of the fittest. Today, we see similar challenges in our urban areas: sprawling slums, limited government presence, and insufficient control, raising critical questions about leadership and governance. In response, Governor Caleb Mutfwang's administration has introduced policies and programs designed to address these issues. A key initiative is the empowerment of the Jos Metropolitan Development Board, JMDB, to implement the Greater Jos Master Plan, ensuring a more organized, modern, and sustainable urban environment. I am Pamzi Jamang, and this is Government House Diary. Glad to have you on our interview segment. Today we are with the man of the moment, someone whose name has entered Plato's lexicon, if there's something like that. When your house is improperly located, it will be bunkered. Today we are with the General Manager, Jos Metropolitan Development Board, Hart bunkered. Glad to have you on Government House Diary.
Thanks for having me, and welcome to JMDB.
Okay, let's begin with your mandates and vision. How does JMDB's mandates align with Governor Caleb Mutfwang's mandate of vision of urban renewal in Jos, the Plateau State capital?
Well, the mandate of JMDB as it is has to do with the urban development and planning of the city center, Jos Metropolis, with the expansion of the Greater Jos Master Plan, which had to cover with parts of Rion, Ladi, Jos South, and Jos East, with Jos North and parts of Basa, all encapsulated. And we thank God, because for the very first time I can comfortably tell you that you had someone who, out of his policies trust, was particular about urban development, and that is Barrister Caleb Mutfwang. And he didn't mince words when he said he was going to rejig the city and then get rid of slums in as many urban areas as possible. And so that brought it easier for us to align the mandate and the role JMDB had to play with the vision His Excellency had. And so marrying the two just makes the work easier, because you're actually doing what your principal wants you to be doing.
Okay, let me take you on your progress and achievements. What specific milestone has JMDB achieved in implementing the Greater Jos Master Plan?
Well, as you know, when we came on board, it was never passed into law. Right now, I can tell you for free that we are not only working on the extension, but we're also working on the expansion of the Greater Jos Master Plan, and then other urban plans that are going to be done at the sub-national levels, and then at the zonal levels, and then at the local government levels. And we are hoping that that will see the ray of light at the end of it, and then it will now be passed into law, which will now have an expanded period for it to cover for the state. And for what we've done so far, I think we've been able to achieve a whole lot with what we met on ground, which was hitherto comatose. I believe that hitherto people build and did a lot of things without recourse to the fact that you needed to get the necessary permissions. But I can assure you that within a year and a half now, people know that if you build a structure and it's illegal, there are repercussions to it. So I think it's a very great milestone in that regard, in what we've done.
Okay, we are aware that your agency is thriving on an archaic law. like 1960.
Edict of
1974. So what are you doing to ensure that the institution itself is well-grounded?
Well, operating on an edict of 1974 did not only make it obsolete. It had a law, and the law is still viable. It's just that maybe certain penalties are not as stiff as they used to be when they were back then. But the law still serves its purpose for what this is meant for. But coming to the new age and then new times and facing reality, we are going on the validation of the law, and then we are moving. You know, edict is actually a military provision. So we've gone to the House of Assembly. The Law Reform Committee is already working on it. They've visited, they are working on it, and then reviews are being done on the law presently. And by the time they are done with the reviews, I'm sure it's going to bring a very palatable law that will work for the organization, for the interest of the state.
Okay, thank you very much. Let me take you on addressing citizens' concern. We've seen a remarkable work you've done from Jos Metropolis. What's in concrete terms, what are the mechanisms put in place to relocate these traders, these disadvantaged traders, than having a haphazard relocation plans?
I don't know what is relocate. I don't know what is haphazard. I don't know. You see, we have idolized nonsense for a very long time that has become a part of us, that it is now a norm, to the point where we're trying to look for nice words to use it. Who authorized the traders to stay on the road? Are the roads meant for trading? Are the streets meant for hawking?
This was built over time.
It was built over time, it has been normalized. So I keep telling people the reason why people think our actions are harsh is not because we hate people, no, but because we are trying to write a system that has been wronged for a very long time. And with no apologies, like I keep telling people, provisions have been made. When we had situations of moving people to get into various spaces, it wasn't like we woke up from our dreams and then we started chasing people off the streets. No, we had consultative meetings with people. We had stakeholders engagement. We had series of meetings, even with the marketers and traders, and then give them options. Like those in Terminus, we gave them the option of going back into the old market. For those in Gadabu, we told them to go back into the satellite market. For those in Faringada, we told them to get back into the market. And then for those in Bukuru, we told them to go back into the old market. But unfortunately, people had their security concerns, which we witnessed firsthand when we went to enforce, when the members of the task force were attacked in Bukuru. And it was on the strength of that that we came back to the drawing table, and we still went to seek an alternative to provide space for people. And by the special grace of God, at the end of this month, we are going to be commissioning the neighborhood market in Bukuru, which is going to cater for about 1,000 stalls to be able to take some people back, and then we'll make provisions for people to go back into the old market. This now gives us room and latitude to now have the available spaces. And like I keep telling people, the more you delay us, the more you frustrate us. So that's why we don't have the luxury of time to go at their own pace. We need to know our available spaces so that we can now bring in developments into these spaces. And then they have to be tailor-made. We can't do a general design and say this design has to work or fit in everywhere. No. Based on our available spaces, we'll determine the designs and functionality of our spaces. So that's what we hope to do. So I think we've been very magnanimous in giving those spaces. And I would like to reiterate that the streets are not meant for hawking or trading. So it is not even for just the sanity of the state, but it's even for the security of the people who are doing those things.
So how well is your monitoring teams? Because I can tell you for free that when you go to most of these streets now, when your task force is coming, they run away. But once your task force is not there, what's your preparation, what's your arrangement with normal security agencies to ensure that no one is found there?
Well, I don't know. I know the only place that you might say when they see task force, they run and come back is Bukuru. Which is quite unfortunate, and it's not like we've forgotten about them. We've enforced in Faringada, we've enforced in Terminus, we've enforced in Gadabu. And you see, I keep telling people it's pathetic that you have to be chased like animals to do the things you know you're doing. If they were doing what was just, they wouldn't have been running. So the issue of sustainability is what we are looking at, and we have gotten to those points of engagements with the relevant stakeholders and the community leaders, and we are telling them, look, government cannot keep spending money to be carrying people and running on the streets. So, but the truth is, we have also realized that until we start putting these things in place and building up those structures we're talking about, we cannot be able to sustain these things going forward. So we are doing our own part. For us, government has shown commitment, and government has shown the will and has shown the capacity that is willing to do, and we won't get tired. We'll keep doing it until we fix our state and then we get things right. So I'm very optimistic that we will do it. And even the Bukuru, where people are complaining and saying people have come back, they have occupied everywhere. Yes, because we gave them the latitude to finish the development we're doing. Once we're done with that development, nobody has an excuse again.
Okay, this administration has been talking about community markets, and you just mentioned it. How soon should we see these things coming up?
I told you I'm commissioning one at the end of this month in Bukuru, which is going to have over 1,000 stalls. It's no longer we will. We have
so
done it.
So that of the Bukuru is almost done.
Do you understand?
Other parts of the state?
Yes, other parts of the state. Just like we're saying, we're developing them. It's in bits. Mostly are going to be through PPP, but government is going to build about 4, 5. That's why I told you, based on the peculiarity of the spaces. So the people need to give us our available spaces. We can't keep chasing you and then trying to get your attention to give us our space. If I'm bringing a developer to come and develop, I have to give him a secured site that has been cleared. And once that is done and is properly done, we will go into action. And I can assure you that there are a lot of people that are willing to key in, and His Excellency has been more than committed to see that these things come into play. So I can tell you for free that government on its own part is going to build about 3 or 4. While the other spaces are going to be allowed for people to build.
Okay, let me take you off the streets now. Let's talk about urban planning and infrastructure. What mechanisms are there in place to enforce proper land use planning and prevent unplanned urban renewal? Like we have, I can call like refill and urban slum. So what are you doing to ensure that these natives sell this land that are properly planned?
Well, like I said, if you see those GIS systems, we had done this since last year. We have bought it, we have gone for consultations, we have discussed with community leaders. We had even told them that once you have up to 1 hectare that you want to sell, have recourse to us, we'll give you a layout so that you'll be able to develop it so that it can key into the Greater Jos Master Plan. But like I rightly observed to you, I said there have been years of neglect. The Greater Jos Master Plan was a document that was brought and revived in 2014. And then after it was revived in 2014, what happened? It was never passed into law. So there was nothing impeding anybody from developing or doing whatever he wanted to do. But we came back, went back to it and said, no, we're going to work on this document to see how we're going to concretize it and then pass it into law. So we have taken note of the errors that had happened. We have taken notes of the abuses that have been done to what was supposed to have been part of the plan. And then all those things are now being put into consideration into the new master plan, which will now give room and legal backing for any form of development. I wrote my undergraduate project on Rayfield, so I can tell you for free, I can give you all the indices, and Rayfield perfectly meets the definition of a rich man's slum. So it's pathetic. It's pathetic to say the least, but it is something that we shouldn't dim people's hope and then make it look like the whole situation is glim. No, it is what they call it. It is something that is looking very bright for us because it's just a fraction of the undeveloped area. So when you look at the larger picture of the undeveloped area, we have a larger area to plan and lay out appropriately. So which I keep telling people there's no need to worry about that, and then there's no cause for alarm for now. Everything is going to be fine, and moving forward, we are optimistic that we will do everything according to the plans.
Okay, we're waiting for that. We've seen your efforts in stopping heavy trucks coming into the city. Now that it's a commendable move, but there's a problem coming up because these areas that these trucks are being parked is coming into is developing something that we cannot manage if not nip in the bud. So how are you doing? What are you doing to ensure that you have proper parks in the outskirts of these cities, like that of Maraban Jama and Bauchi Road? So what plans is JMDB or government having to ensure that there are proper parks, and these parks will now generate revenue for government too?
You know, I'm an advocate for business should be left for the private sector, not the public sector, because public sector is the worst place to run a business. They've failed woefully and they cannot do it. And then being a private sector person myself, I've always encouraged and I've even advised His Excellency that the idea of having a trailer park should be a wholly private sector driven business. Because the moment we carry it now and put it into the coffers of government, we will spend taxpayers' money and then somebody will look at it as his own milk cow, and then at the end of the day, within the next 3-4 years, you hear that the place is dead. But when somebody invests his money, it's something that is going to have to be sustainable. Ours is to provide the policy, which we are doing, and then we are providing the land, which we have done. So, and His Excellency has been very magnanimous in reaching out to people. He has gotten people who have indicated, have shown interest. We have even gone to site with them. In fact, today, we are supposed to take part of their team who came into town to site. But because of the interview, I couldn't. So we are working on that. And by the special grace of God, they are going to do that. They've identified 2 locations in Maraban Jama. And we have a proposal for Babali, we have a proposal for Mr. Ali. And just last week, His Excellency said, if we're doing something fantastic in Maraban Jama, why do we have to introduce? Because there was a proposal for Hawan Kibo. So we had to take that off the table to discuss. So I can tell you for free that those things are worked upon and then plans are being made. I have been part of the people. I take full responsibility because I said, no, it is not government's responsibility to provide those spaces. It should be a private sector driven business, and we are working on that. And by special grace of God, we have gotten people who have indicated interest and they will implement that, and that will be done. Ours is to supervise. Okay. Thank you, viewer. We've been talking with the General Manager, Jos Metropolitan Development Board. For now, we'll go on a short break, but when we return, we'll engage him on partnerships for the agency. Thank you very much, and stay tuned.
JMDB, changing the narrative in Plateau.
On March 1st, 2024, the Executive Governor of Plateau State, Barrister Caleb Mutfwang, signed Executive Order Number 003, empowering the Jos Metropolitan Development Board to enforce building control across Plateau State. The Jos Metropolitan Development Board, JMDB, has been mandated to ensure every building, including schools, has the required permits and meets the necessary standards. This move comes in a week of the tragic collapse of St. Academy in Jos on July 12, 2024, which claimed the lives of 22 pupils and a teacher, leaving many injured. To prevent such disaster, the Jos Metropolitan Development Board, JMDB, has embarked on a comprehensive building control exercise, scrutinizing schools in and around Jos. No longer will substandard buildings be tolerated, putting the lives of our children and citizens at risk. The Jos Metropolitan Development Board, JMDB, is committed to ensuring that every building in Plateau State meets the required standard, providing a safe and secure environment for all. This is a new era in building control, and we are determined to get it right. Let's join hands to build a safer Plateau State where our children can learn and grow without fear. JMDB, changing the narrative.
So glad to have you back on Government House Diary. We have been discussing with the General Manager, JMDB, Hart Bankat, and it has been a very interesting conversation. Okay, let me take you on partnerships and collaborations. What are some of the efforts you're doing to ensure that there's partnerships in all these programs you just reeled out with either government or individuals?
Well, for partnerships, I think we've done a whole lot. We are collaborating with a whole lot of people. Like I told you, I said we are managers of the city, so we collaborate with a whole lot of people, and then we try to make governance as open as possible. So part of doing that is to see how you create opportunities, and then you allow people to bring in their ideas, to sit down, and then you brainstorm. We are not rigid. We don't come out and say, if we want to do this, it must be this. No, we give room for people to have dialogues with us. And part of it is what I told you, better the market in Bukuru. Because right now, as it is a PPP arrangement that we've had with some of our partners who are now developing that market. And then they are going to operate it for a period of years, which is going to be for the betterment of their business. And then at the end of the day, you see, we have solved the problem which was looming by creating space for people to trade and market, and then we are also creating business avenues and opportunities. And just like I told you, we're being deliberate about it here because we are advocates of the fact that when our economy is being run largely by the private sector, it means that there's going to be more yield and then more revenue for the state, which means that government can now get more money to do more. So we'll try our very possible best to see how we'll do it, but we are open to partnerships, and we have existing partnerships that are yielding fruits and are beneficial to us. Okay, let's talk about your challenges. What are some of the challenges faced by your agency in actualizing your mandates? Well, quite a lot, because I don't belong to the school of thought where people come and complain. But I believe that there are not things that are not surmountable. We have identified them. There are things that were under oath, and there are certain things we cannot say publicly, but we believe that they are workable and redeemable, and we are working on that, and we are hoping that we will be able to surmount all of them and then turn around the tides of the organization. The organization has the potentials to do what it needs to do. It has the potentials to become what it needs to become. And we are hoping that by the special grace of God, even if we can't do all while we are here, we'll try our possible best to see that they do nothing less than 90%. Okay, in our conversation, you've mentioned about your plans and all that. Can you, in concrete terms, tell us what are your future plans? Looking at the future, where do you see Plateau in the next decades? Well, seeing Plateau in the next decades is in the Committee of States. Like His Excellency will always tell you, we are not competing with anybody. We are ready to beat Lagos. So I think that is firm enough a statement and shows you the purpose and direction where we're headed in what we are trying to do. You see, we've been so blessed in this state with a whole lot of things that we don't have a reason to be even ungrateful to God and complain that we're poor or backwards in whatever we're doing. But we're optimistic that with what we're trying to put on ground and lay, we will have a city that is not only well planned and organized, but is also futuristic in the sense that it has made provisions for the developments yet to come, so that sooner or later we wouldn't be having these haphazard arrangements we're having and urban slums that are existing, but rather we will have a well thought out system that had been put in place for this to work. And I told you, I said part of what we are doing is amending the errors in the new master plan, and that is going to cater for these things, because when that comes and goes into law, it no longer becomes just a mere document that anybody can dump. It becomes a deliberate document that must be implemented to the latter. Okay, so that will answer my question of sustainability and innovation. Yeah. What are you putting on ground to ensure that if it's not Hart Bankat, if it's another person, what will make him to ensure that this thing is being done? The law. That's why I told you, I said when it comes to government, it's all about policy. So it is not my responsibility to wish, but like I will always pray for. I pray that the person that is going to come after me should be better and much more willing to do more than whatever I'm going to do and live here. and then anybody coming after him should want to do better and more. So, but the only way we can secure that so that it doesn't come with anybody who comes and goes is to make sure that where we've seen the loopholes, we make provisions for them in the law. Once we have organized institutions, it makes stronger societies.
Okay, thank you very much. But for your parting words, talk to Plateau people. Tell them your parting words. What do you have to say to them?
Well, I want to thank God for the privilege to be here first and foremost, and then His Excellency for seeing us worthy to be able to steer this ship in JMDB, to be able to effect the changes. And to my fellow people in Plateau State, we all love you and we love the state. We don't hate you. We are so passionate about you. That is why we are so envious of the fact that we want to see Plateau contest in the Committee of States. And so there are certain decisions that we might be taking which might not be favorable to you, but does not mean we hate you. It simply means that we have to fix it. I am glad that Plateau has moved from the 28th cleanest city to the 7th. It will only get worse because we are planning on getting to the 1st. And so in doing that, we will not come and be lying and then mincing words and deceiving people and telling them all is going to be rosy. We are going to hit harder. We are going to come stronger. But we can assure you that it's for the betterment of our state and for the future of our children and those yet unborn. Bear with us, cooperate with us, unite with us, and then see Plateau get to its proper place in the Committee of States. Thank you very much and God bless.
Thank you very much for sharing your thoughts with Government House Diary.
You are most welcome.
It has been a very wonderful conversation with the General Manager, JMDB, and a lot has been said. Please stay tuned for the continuation of our next item. It has been an enlightening conversation with the General Manager of JMDB, who shared key strategies for actualizing the Greater Jos Master Plan. Achieving this vision signifies the government fulfilling its part of the social contract, but it also requires citizens to play their role by cooperating and aligning with the policies designed to protect and develop our society. Thank you for staying with Government House Diary. My name is Pamzi Jamang, and this is where we sign off. See you next week.